Okay, everyone. I am as sure as I think I'm ever going to be that my audio is working, so we're going to try to play ourselves some Peggle. And we're going to talk about the election. But first, who? 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 Yes, I am Who, called a Master Who by some. Wander with me now as I hint at the mindful truths of the Zen Ball. Our journey will take us where we are meant to be, or maybe next door, close enough. So the Zen Ball... okay. It is a truth that if the green peg is struck, you will be blessed with a Zen Ball for your next turn. Zen Ball seeks harmony and goodness in all things. So... this is the last one. This is the last different Peggle Master, so when I'm done with his levels, I'll probably check that tier list. I predict that he is considered lower tier because like what he does is really useful if you are bad at this game, like me. He adjusts adjusts your shot to make it gooder. Thing about it is, if you're already good at the game, he doesn't let you do anything that you couldn't have done otherwise. And so on those grounds, I suspect he's kinda low tier, even if he's actually even if he's, I think he has a low skill ceiling. Or is it a low skill ceiling? The one where he has whichever skill ceiling or floor makes it to where he stops getting more useful, and indeed gets less useful as you get better at the game. So for pro players who are making tier lists, much like with the Super Guide, which also doesn't allow you to do anything you really couldn't have otherwise. That was fucking awesome. I suspect he's lower tier. In life, there are many choices. Some are better than others. Zen Ball achieves oneness with the Peggle and improves the shot that you are going to take. Okay. Speaking of choices, I want to talk about Bernie or Bust. Because I have feelings, as do many of us. This discussion is, of course, not relevant to, like, conservatives. So, if there are any of you out there, feel free to listen in to what we do and say when you're not around. But... let's see. Crap. Okay, maybe that shot is too hard. Okay. So, in the aftermath of Bernie dropping out, which, I mean, Bernie was clearly not going to win. At this point, like, Super Tuesday doomed him. And I don't think the coronavirus gave him any it was ever going to give him a new wind. He had no path. The reason to stay in, and the reason he didn't drop out as soon as people were asking him to, is because by staying in, he basically, gives his ideas more voice. Okay. Which is a valuable thing and is and will forever be his greatest contribution. But anyways, let's see here. Crap. The way I see it, there are, for us now, as people who would have liked Bernie to win, but also don't. So there's a segment of people, as I argued in the past. I think I mentioned this on a stream at one point. That might have been the stream that didn't actually, where I forgot to press the go live button. But I argued that there are a lot of people to whom any radical is better than a centrist. And to those people, the path is now clear. Trump is obviously better than Biden because centrism is bad, or the status quo is bad, because a lot of the people self-identify as centrists. And then, of course, there are people who like Trump and are going to vote for him anyway. This isn't about them either. The people who have to make, like, a difficult decision now. I mean, I guess never-Trumpers also have to make a difficult decision now, but the people who have to make a difficult decision that's anything to do with me, I'll leave never-Trumpers to their own business. Are people who are basically have two choices. Do we unite behind Biden because anything is better than Trump, or for some other reason? Or do we try to basically hold out and say, no, screw you, DNC, if you're going to be openly hostile and consciously rig the election against us, which is what a lot of people are saying they did. I think it's definitely true that they consciously acted to ensure Bernie Sanders' defeat. Whether that made the difference is more questionable, I think, than some people on the far left would like to admit. I think a lot of people have the I'll say kind of delusional belief that, like, Bernie was a shoo-in otherwise, which I don't think is the case at all. Zinball works best when it has lots of options. You can open those options to Zinball by aiming for a peg or the corner of a brick. So, okay. So, the options we have, like I say, are either like a protest vote, where we kind of try to, like, hold our votes hostage and sort of blackmail the DNC, or or like falling in line. I think there are 6 situations we have to consider. The choice we're making is between working with the DNC, who have proven that they are basically our enemies. Awesome. Or, should I go for the clear? I think I'm going to. Or defecting from the DNC and just refusing to play along with them in hopes that, basically, like I say, in hopes of blackmailing them, in hopes of, like, forcing, like, getting it in their heads that they have to pander to us in the future. So there are 6 scenarios we have to consider. I wonder, should I have done this? Should I have, like, a paint stream, like Vosh sometimes does? I already have Peggle up. Okay, so the choice is between defecting and cooperating. There are 3 scenarios. This can go differently based on a set of 3 possibilities. Possibility number 1, Biden wins. Possibility number 2, Biden loses, but it is apparent in retrospect that he could have won. Zinball is not all-powerful. It can only nudge your shot angle in a good direction, but that nudge is usually enough. Yeah, so scenario 2 is where basically it's a close election, and it, much like, and this is, by the way, what happened in 2016, the the establishment Dem lost to Trump, but it was clear in retrospect that they could have won. And then scenario number 3 is where Trump wins overwhelmingly, and it's clear in retrospect that Biden never had any kind of chance. In each of those scenarios, a different thing happens depending on whether we defect or we cooperate. If Biden wins, then if Biden wins and we defected, then we collectively look like dum-dums. You know, the media is gonna mock us. I'm plagiarizing Vosh a lot right now, by the way, because he was right about a lot of this. I didn't actually realize that was involved there. So we basically look like we ruined everything. Much like what the narrative was in 2016, that if only the Bernie bros had not Bernie or busted and had pragmatically voted for Hillary, as I did in 2016, everything would have been fine. I think that narrative, like, the problem with that narrative is that it assumes that everyone who, like, voted green would have voted for Trump over Hillary. Or no, other way, that it assumes that everyone who voted green would have voted for Hillary over Trump, when I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like I say, I think there are a lot of people who prefer any extreme to an establishment candidate. But regardless, if that happens, we look bad because we defected, and we were, saying that whole time that Biden was unelectable, and then he got elected. We look bad, and perhaps the sort of like enemy revealing its weak spot moment that we're having right now could end. But Trump is immediately out of office, and that is a massive upside. Second, if we cooperate and Biden wins, that's if we defect and Biden wins. If we cooperate and Biden wins, we look good. We look reasonable, but we might still sort of lose the anti-establishment moment, though I doubt that. I think that if anything, a Biden presidency would be good for that, because right now there's a lot of people who still can kind of blame the fact that things are bad right now on Trump, and having a Democrat take office and things continue to be bad, which they will maybe extract that notion from certain people's brains. So, we would look good, but the DNC would know that they can pull this shit again. I really should have made this a paint stream. Writing this shit down makes it a lot easier to avoid being repetitive, but I'm not pulling back. I'm not changing my mind. I'm too stubborn. I'm not too far away from finishing the campaign, and if that happens, I'll move this to like a paint software. So, let me regather my thoughts. Okay. So if we cooperate and Biden wins, we look good, but we maybe lose the moment. If we cooperate and Biden if we don't cooperate and Biden wins, we look bad and we maybe lose the moment. In either case, Trump doesn't return to office. If Biden loses by a little and we defect, everyone blames us for Trump being reelected. This will happen to some extent anyway, but if the election is clearly a landslide and the numbers clearly demonstrate that we didn't make the difference, I don't think the media narrative will be as obsessed with painting us as a menace and as responsible for getting Trump back into office. The worst case scenario is if they're kind of objectively right. That if the election is super close, there are a million factors, and it won't really be anyone's fault. Because it won't be any one of those factors' fault, because any one of them going the other way would have changed the result. Though again, of course, there are a million other factors that could have then flipped back over to change the result back. And that's very much how it was in 2016. There are 100,000 little things that, had they gone differently, would have caused Hillary to win. But then there are 100,000 more things that went Hillary's way that could have then flipped back to reverse the result back. In any case, in the event of a Trump victory, if we defect and Trump wins, we look really bad. If we look either bad or, horrible. And we don't want to look bad or horrible, because Bernie lost. I was about to say Biden, but I realized I should begin with Bernie. So I didn't misspeak and call Bernie Trump. I swear I wouldn't do that. Let's see here. I'll skip to my conclusion, because clearly the thing I would be doing if I had a chart in front of me, which I did actually kind of make a chart earlier and think through some of this. Isn't working. I think we should probably vote for Biden in the general. I think the image. I think that the degree to which we look more reasonable if we do that outweighs all of the downsides of voting for Biden. I don't think that a Biden victory would cause us to lose this moment. The true power of Zen Ball is to reveal your true potential. Every ball can be a Zen ball. I don't think that it's true. Some people on the left are saying that Biden isn't much better than Trump anyway, which is something you can only think if you just don't know what their respective policy positions are. People make arguments about, his character and the probability that he is a rapist. I don't think that changes the pragmatic fact of the matter. Which is that we just can't, which is that we need rid of Trump, and we need to look good. We need to look reasonable and willing to compromise. The media will want to blame us no matter what. But they don't just have absolute control over what happens and what things look like to the public. I just think that Bernie or busting, I initially was like, yeah, totally Bernie or bust, but I now think it would be a mistake. Okay, now some video games, something I can keep track of. Well done. You have completed the Peggle Institute's undergraduate program with determination and flair. All that remains is the final exam. These levels will test your mettle, but you may choose any master to help you in your quest. I'm sure you'll do great. After all, you've been taught by the best. I'm gonna check the weather. I was gonna do this, that's, yeah. I was gonna do this later. I'm doing it earlier because I was kind of prevented from doing my walk. Yeah. So here's where we get to the point of choosing Peggle Masters, which will be true for basically the rest of the game. I'm now going to Google Peggle Master tier list. Okay. Huh. This is, who is this by? Some dude Huh. I I was right about what the best couple ones were. Um, I okay, here, let me show you this. I'm just gonna window capture. And okay, that's showing it all big. Um, nope, that made that worse. Um, is there a way? Okay. Here's good enough. This is just making sure that looks good. This guy has this definitive guide to each character in Peggle, ranking them from best to worst. Uh, it's only his informed opinion with his experience with the game. It's highly subject to change and should no way be considered official. I'm gonna try for something a little. I'm gonna try for something a little bit more official. Um, um, let's see. Um, surprisingly, aren't a lot of them. Here's a Reddit. Which the lower one is the Peggle Knights. I have no idea who Mr. Fruit is. So this one says A tier is Reinfeld, which I called, Master Who, which I said was definitely not true, Lord Cinderbottom, which I said, which I kind of called, and Warren, which I totally called. B tier, we have Bjorn, Claude, and Splork. I thought Bjorn was much worse than this, but Claude and Splork are about where I expected them to be. And then shit tier, Jimmy Lightning, Cat Tut, and Tula. I thought Tula was a little bit higher than that. Um, um, and then there's the sequel, which I didn't occur to me that it would be likely to be different. Here's this one, which tries to rank them from best to worst. Reinfeld, best, yes. Warren, Lucky Spin. I actually thought he might be the best objectively, but I have always liked Reinfeld more. Claude at number 3, I'm not sure I agree with. Multi-ball is actually pretty decent, but as it says, you will almost always want to use the Spooky Ball instead. That's kind of the problem with it. Cinderbottom is pretty good. Uh, Master Who does say use it at the end of the level, which I think is probably a good insight. I definitely disagree with Splork being put below Cat Tut. I think that's very silly, to be honest. Though I can see the argument for it being outclassed by Fireball. Um, and then Bjorn being crappy, Tula being crappy. Uh, it is inferior to the Space Blast, which is in turn inferior to the Fireball. So there are already two characters which are essentially complete upgrades to it. Never use this character for anything ever. Um, so Interesting. With those insights in mind, let us return. Okay, that did not slide the way I thought it would. That was a mistake. Just gonna clear that out of the way. It hadn't occurred to me to try to use Who at the end of the level, but it makes sense. I mean, that's kind of when you're in the most danger of having, like, really bad shots a lot of the time. So yeah, it turns out that I was surprised that there's not really an official tier list. Like, there is just some dude on Reddit and some dude on the Steam forums. Which, I don't know, maybe I should have anticipated that. I don't know how many people are MLG Peggle players. I suppose not many, or else there would be a real tier list. Okay, so this is gonna be a failed attempt. I'm gonna try to get my way through the campaign, then I'll stop. I said, you know, no, I'll probably just do like this level and then stop. Because I do wanna. I think I already said this, that I was gonna do my daily walk. Yes, I do exercise. And yes, I am better than you because I exercise. Crap. Ding, get the purple. Oh well, that was still a really, really good shot. I am not going to be prideful and go for the clear yet, but it's looking like I might actually try that. Need to get rid of that blue peg. Crap. Okay. Okay. Damn it. Okay. So I don't know of cyberpunks. Like, all cyberpunk stories, in theory, take place in, like, capitalist dystopias. Not really. I'm sure that's a massive generalization. I don't, indulge in a lot of cyberpunk. I don't know if there's ever been one that was, like, really and truly about, like, an attempt to change things. A lot of them, I'm to understand, are very cynical. So I wonder if that's an empty space I could try to occupy artistically. Yay! Okay. Downside. Oh, ooh, that's sort of how I wanted it to fall, to be sure. Oh, but that's not. Oh well, it was a good shot. Okay, but that'll just funnel it over there where it'll be wasted. Let's... Yeah, that little piddly back and forth thing just isn't what I want my spooky ball doing. Maybe I should try a different one. See if that, yeah, if that's exactly what I worried about. Okay. also 7 orange pegs, so I still definitely have a shot here. It is interesting the way that Peggle handles the and the way that other PopCap games are the same way. Particularly, I say this, pre-sellout PopCap games. Right now they're doing like casual games. It's amazing. Like casual games used to be known for being unusually easy. Not the case now. Okay. Yeah. I used to. I'll talk about that in a better level for it. But yeah, I kind of like how Peggle sort of handles the tension between like ease and challenge, where like it has sort of core, like a core. The content in it varies really widely. So like a lot of it is really easy, and you can just play a bunch and have fun and never have to worry about a challenge that a person who's relatively bad at the game can't overcome with several tries. But later on, and we're going to see this as I kind of dive into the 100% material, like the bonus challenges, there's some shit that's like really fucking hard. I could also try the fireball on this level. This is a level that would kind of benefit from that. Yeah, I think I will on my next attempt on fireball. Unless I somehow win this time, but I'm not holding my breath. Missed the purple one, oh well. One thing that I saw on that tier list was that apparently the sequel fixes some jank with the bouncy physics for the fireball, and apparently that causes this guy to actually climb the tier list. Okay. Oh my god, that... Okay. Goes to show what picking the right ability can do for you, because I immediately won. I'm hearing some doggies bark, and the walk I was gonna do also involves a doggy, so I definitely am gonna quit after this level. Which will mean I have just a few levels left next time I do this, but that's fine, because there are a bajillion challenges, so I'll start on those. I really do intend to 100% the damn thing on screen. Whether I will actually have the patience to do that, I don't know. Whether I'll have the patience to do it before starting something else, I really don't know. Okay. I said it. I want to continue, but I have to be responsible. And I've given you guys some time. Oh my god, a viewer! Kevin was watching. Way. So, I have to rip myself away from it. Press the end stream button.